Sometimes the moments that change our lives don't begin with a plan. They begin with an interruption, a conversation we didn't expect, a decision we didn't see coming, an opportunity that arrives before we feel ready, or a chapter that suddenly comes to an end, creating space for something entirely new. Over the next few days, a rare sequence of planetary movements brings powerful momentum for change. While this energy may feel fast, unpredictable, or even uncomfortable at first, it also carries the potential for remarkable breakthroughs if we're willing to meet change with curiosity instead of fear. In today's reflection, we'll explore why unexpected moments often become the greatest turning points in our lives, how your nervous system can learn to see uncertainty as possibility rather than danger, and a simple psychological exercise that can help you transform disruption into one of your greatest sources of personal growth. Because sometimes, the life you've been hoping for doesn't arrive by following the path you expected. It arrives the moment you're willing to walk through a different door. The first thing we notice when life changes unexpectedly is the feeling it creates inside us. Before the mind has time to understand what's happening, the body often reacts first. Your heart beats a little faster. Your thoughts begin searching for answers. Part of you wants to predict what comes next, while another part simply wants everything to return to the way it was. This is a completely natural response. The nervous system wasn't designed to prefer uncertainty. It was designed to recognize familiar patterns because familiarity often feels safe. That's why even positive change can feel uncomfortable. A new opportunity, a healthier relationship, a different career path, a chance to begin again. Each of these asks your mind to step beyond what it already knows. This powerful sequence of planetary movements reflects that same process. Mars brings action. Uranus introduces the unexpected. Neptune reminds us to trust something deeper than immediate certainty. Pluto invites lasting transformation rather than temporary adjustment. Together, they create an invitation that feels both exciting and unfamiliar. Not because life is trying to make things difficult, because growth rarely begins inside our comfort zone. Think back to the moments that shaped your life the most. Very few were perfectly planned. Many arrived unexpectedly. A conversation changed your perspective. A setback redirected your future. A disappointment revealed strengths you didn't know you possessed. Looking back, those moments often make sense. Living through them, they rarely did. That's the challenge with transformation. It asks us to trust before we can fully understand. The mind naturally wants guarantees. It wants proof that everything will work out before taking the first step. Life doesn't usually unfold that way. Instead, it offers something much quieter. A feeling, an intuition, a small opportunity, a door that's slightly open. And then it asks a question. Are you willing to move forward without knowing every detail? That question can feel uncomfortable. But it also creates possibility, because certainty keeps us repeating what we've already experienced. Curiosity allows us to discover what we've never experienced before. As these energies unfold over the coming days, notice when your first instinct is to resist what's changing. Then pause for a moment. Take one slow breath. Instead of asking yourself how quickly you can restore the old normal, gently ask, what if this change is making space for something my current perspective can't fully see yet? You don't have to force yourself to believe the answer. Simply becoming willing to ask the question begins changing the relationship you have with uncertainty. And sometimes, that's the very first step toward a breakthrough. One of the most powerful lessons change can teach us is that disruption and destruction are not the same thing. From the outside, they can look almost identical. Both interrupt familiar routines. Both ask us to let go of expectations. Both can leave us wondering whether we're moving forward or simply losing something important. But there's a crucial difference. Destruction leaves nothing to build upon. Disruption rearranges what already exists so something stronger can emerge. Think about renovating a home. Before new walls are painted, old ones may need to come down. Before more light enters a room, a window may need to be opened where there wasn't one before. If you judge the process too early, it might look like everything was falling apart. Only later do you realize it was being rebuilt. Our inner lives often follow that same pattern. Sometimes an old belief begins falling away. Perhaps you've always believed you weren't capable enough, or that you had to earn everyone's approval before your voice mattered. Maybe you've spent years convincing yourself that staying comfortable was the safest way to live. Then life introduces something unexpected, a challenge, a new opportunity, a conversation that changes the way you see yourself. For a moment, your old story no longer fits. That can feel unsettling, not because you're becoming weaker, because the identity you've outgrown is beginning to loosen its grip. This is why periods of rapid change often feel emotionally confusing. Part of you is stepping toward something new. Another part is still trying to protect what feels familiar. Neither side is wrong. One is trying to keep you safe. The other is trying to help you grow. Real wisdom isn't choosing one over the other. It's allowing them to work together. Your caution can keep you grounded. Your curiosity can keep you moving. When those qualities begin supporting each other instead of competing, change becomes much less frightening. You stop seeing every unexpected event as a threat. You begin asking what it's inviting you to learn. Over the next few days, pay attention to the moments that don't go according to plan. Instead of immediately asking why they're happening, become curious about what they're making possible. Sometimes a delay creates space for a better opportunity. Sometimes an ending protects you from a path that no longer fits the person you're becoming. Sometimes uncertainty becomes the very reason you discover strengths that certainty never asked you to develop. Looking back, many of life's greatest turning points didn't begin with confidence. They began with the willingness to take one thoughtful step into the unknown. And that willingness has always been far more powerful than certainty ever could be. There comes a moment in every period of change when we have to decide what deserves our energy. Not every opportunity deserves a yes. Not every impulse deserves immediate action. And not every uncomfortable feeling is asking us to run in the opposite direction. This is where discernment becomes more valuable than speed. Mars naturally wants to move. It encourages action, initiative, and momentum. But when momentum isn't guided by awareness, it's easy to mistake urgency for purpose. We've all experienced it, making a decision simply because we wanted the discomfort to end, saying yes because we were afraid to miss an opportunity, saying no because staying where we were felt safer. Neither choice is necessarily right or wrong. The question is whether it came from fear or from clarity. One of the quiet gifts hidden within this powerful sequence of transits is the invitation to slow down internally, even while life appears to be speeding up externally. You don't always need more information. Sometimes you simply need a little more stillness. Think about the surface of a lake. When the water is constantly disturbed, it's difficult to see what's beneath it. As the surface becomes calm, everything grows clearer. Our minds work in much the same way. When we're overwhelmed by urgency, every decision begins feeling equally important. When we become calm, priorities naturally reveal themselves. This is why moments of silence are never wasted. A short walk, a few deep breaths before responding, 5 quiet minutes without reaching for your phone. These simple pauses allow intuition to catch up with momentum, and intuition often notices what fear cannot. It recognizes alignment. It recognizes timing. It recognizes the quiet sense that a decision feels true, even before it feels comfortable. Over the next few days, you may feel inspired to make meaningful changes. Welcome that inspiration. But don't confuse movement with progress. Progress comes from moving in the right direction, not simply moving faster. Ask yourself a gentle question before making important decisions. Does this choice bring me closer to the person I'm becoming? Notice how different that feels from asking, will this make me feel comfortable? Comfort protects the present. Growth prepares the future. There will always be moments when those two desires pull in different directions. That's completely natural. The goal isn't to eliminate uncertainty. It's to become someone who can remain centered while uncertainty is present. Because when your mind becomes quieter, your next step often becomes much clearer. And clarity has a remarkable way of turning unexpected change into meaningful direction. One of the greatest misconceptions about courage is that fearless people simply don't experience doubt. In reality, courage and doubt often walk together. The difference is that courageous people stop allowing doubt to make every decision. When life begins changing quickly, the mind naturally searches for certainty. It wants reassurance that every step will succeed. It wants proof that every risk will be rewarded. But growth has rarely worked that way. Think about every meaningful chapter you've lived through. The first day at a new job, the beginning of an important relationship, moving somewhere unfamiliar, starting a creative project, learning a new skill. Very few of those moments came with guarantees, yet each one asked you to take the next step anyway. Not because you knew exactly how everything would unfold, because something inside you believed the possibility was worth exploring. That's where intuition becomes so valuable. Intuition isn't the loudest voice in your mind. It's often the quietest. Fear tends to shout. It imagines every possible problem before you've even begun. Intuition speaks differently. It doesn't promise that nothing will go wrong. It simply reminds you what feels deeply aligned. Learning to recognize that difference can transform the way you approach uncertainty. Fear asks, "What if I fail?" Intuition asks, "What if this helps me become who I'm meant to be?" Fear wants immediate certainty. Intuition values meaningful direction. Neither voice should be ignored. Fear can help us prepare. Intuition helps us move. The wisdom comes from allowing preparation without becoming trapped by hesitation. Over the next few days, notice how often your mind begins creating stories about the future. Stories about what could go wrong. Stories about why this isn't the right time. Stories about why someone else is more qualified, more confident, or more prepared. Then gently pause. Ask yourself, is this a fact, or is it a prediction? That simple question creates space between you and your thoughts. It reminds you that not every fear deserves to become your future. As this powerful energy continues unfolding, remember that you don't need absolute certainty before taking the next meaningful step. You simply need enough trust to remain open. Because life often reveals the next part of the path only after you've had the courage to begin walking. And perhaps that's the breakthrough you've been waiting for all along. Not the disappearance of uncertainty, but the quiet realization that you've become strong enough to move forward with it beside you. Over the next 3 days, I'd like to invite you to try a simple practice, not to avoid uncertainty, but to build a different relationship with it. Call this exercise the open door. Each evening before your day comes to an end, take a few quiet minutes to reflect. Write down one unexpected event that happened today. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Perhaps a meeting was rescheduled. Someone reached out unexpectedly. Your plans changed. You felt inspired to try something new. Or maybe you simply noticed an emotion that surprised you. Once you've written it down, ask yourself one question. How could this be opening a door I haven't considered yet? Don't rush to find the perfect answer. Allow yourself to become curious. Sometimes the opportunity will be obvious. Other times, it may take days or even weeks before you understand why that moment mattered. That's perfectly okay. The purpose of this exercise isn't to predict the future. It's to retrain your attention. Our minds naturally scan for problems because that's how they've learned to protect us. But when every unexpected event is automatically labeled as a problem, we begin overlooking the opportunities hidden within change. This practice gently shifts that habit. Instead of asking, "How do I get back to normal?" you begin asking, "What new possibility is trying to emerge here?" Notice how different those questions feel. One keeps your attention on the past. The other opens your attention toward the future. Over time, something remarkable begins to happen. Unexpected moments stop feeling like interruptions. They begin feeling like invitations. Invitations to learn, to adapt, to discover strengths you didn't know you possessed, to meet people you might never have met, to walk paths you never would have chosen if life had remained completely predictable. After answering your question, take one slow breath. Then quietly remind yourself, I don't need to understand everything today to trust that life is still moving me forward. Read those words slowly. Not because they erase uncertainty, because they create space for hope to exist alongside it. By the end of these 3 days, you may notice something subtle has changed. The events around you may not look dramatically different, but the way you experience them will. And sometimes that shift in perspective is the very breakthrough that allows an entirely new chapter to begin. As these powerful days unfold, remember that transformation is rarely recognized while it's happening. Most of the time, it only becomes obvious when we look back. You suddenly realize you've become calmer in situations that once overwhelmed you. You notice that you're making decisions with greater confidence. You recognize that problems which once consumed your thoughts no longer carry the same emotional weight. These changes rarely happen all at once. They happen quietly. one response at a time, one decision at a time, one courageous step at a time. This is why personal growth often feels slower than it truly is. We're present for every small change, so our minds naturally overlook the progress we've already made. Think about who you were a year ago, not to criticize yourself. Simply to observe. Notice what you've survived. Notice the lessons life has already taught you. Notice the qualities you've developed because of experiences you once wished had never happened. Perhaps you become more patient, more resilient, more compassionate, more willing to trust yourself. Those qualities didn't appear by accident. They were shaped by moments that asked you to adapt instead of retreat. The same process is unfolding now, even if you can't yet see the full picture. Every challenge is strengthening something. Every unexpected turn is revealing another layer of who you're becoming. You don't need to force that process. You only need to remain available for it. That's one of the greatest lessons these transits offer. Life isn't asking you to control every outcome. It's asking you to participate, to meet change with awareness instead of resistance, to replace fear with curiosity, to trust that every experience, whether welcome or unexpected, has the potential to shape you into someone wiser than before. When you begin living this way, uncertainty gradually loses its power over you. Not because life becomes predictable, because you become adaptable. You stop asking whether the road ahead will always be smooth. You begin trusting your ability to keep walking, whatever the road may look like. That quiet confidence can't be given to you by circumstances. It grows from experience, from resilience, from repeatedly discovering that you've handled far more than you once believed possible. Perhaps that's the real breakthrough waiting within this extraordinary period. Not a completely different life, a completely different relationship with change itself. And once that relationship changes, every future chapter becomes a little less frightening and a little more full of possibility. As we bring today's reflection to a close, remember that change isn't asking you to become fearless. It's asking you to become available for new ideas, new opportunities, new perspectives, and perhaps a new version of yourself. Over the next few days, life may surprise you in small ways or significant ones. Plans may shift. Unexpected conversations may appear. A decision you've been postponing may suddenly become clear. Instead of immediately asking whether these moments are good or bad, simply notice them. Meet them with a little more curiosity than you normally would. You don't have to force meaning into every experience. Sometimes life's greatest lessons reveal themselves gradually. Trust that process. Continue practicing the open door exercise. Allow yourself to see unexpected moments as invitations instead of interruptions. The more often you do, the more your mind begins recognizing possibility where it once expected problems. And that's a remarkable shift, because the world around you may not change overnight, but the way you meet the world certainly can. When your perspective changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your habits begin changing. And when your habits change, your future quietly begins changing alongside them. That's how lasting transformation happens, not through one dramatic breakthrough, but through hundreds of small moments where you choose awareness instead of autopilot, curiosity instead of resistance, trust instead of fear. As this extraordinary sequence of transits continues unfolding, remember that your greatest strength isn't predicting what's coming next. It's knowing that whatever arrives, you can meet it with wisdom, resilience, and an open heart. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this reflection helped you feel more grounded, more hopeful, or simply a little more open to the possibilities ahead, I'd love for you to continue this journey with us here at Daily Inner Alignment. Our next reflection shifts into a gentler rhythm as Venus enters Virgo, inviting us to discover how small daily acts of care, mindful routines, and quiet consistency often create the strongest foundations for lasting peace. Until then, stay open, trust your inner compass, and remember, sometimes the door that changes your life doesn't open because you found the perfect plan. It opens because you found the courage to take the first step. Take care, and I'll see you in the next Daily Inner Alignment.